Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Check out the new Blind dating app, CBS's Bradley Blackburn.
It's an idea straight from reality TV.
You're a beautiful person. I don't have to see you to say that.
There's Netflix's Love is Blind and decades before, The Dating Game.
If you were my glasses, what would I see when I looked through you?
Unseen Connection started in Europe. Parvin is helping bring it to the U.S. in partnership with her own dating startup, Radius.
You cannot tell someone's essence in a photo or even a video.
One Forbes survey found 80% of people who use dating apps feel burned out by them. A big complaint, the superficiality of swiping.
A new exhibit at Buckingham Palace celebrates the 100th anniversary of the birth of the late Queen Elizabeth. It's chock full of more than 300 items, from tiaras and wedding necklaces to the dress and matching bloomers worn by the Queen's stunt double who parachuted into the 2012 Olympics. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement. Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, so when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the ones you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hi, this is Tina Fox at the Rutherford Farmers Co-op. Please come and see us for all your garden needs. We have everything you need to help that garden grow, and we also have what you need for landscaping and your lawns. We have black and brown mulch in bulk. Please come see us. And as always, don't forget us for all your gift, clothing, and pet needs. This is Tina Fox. Your Co-op Farm and Home Center is located at 985 Middle Tennessee Boulevard, just off of South Church.
FM 1019, FM 100.5, WGNSradio.com, the Good Neighbor Network.
We're broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios.
Visit MTE.com.
Middle Tennessee Electric,
Serving to make life better
since 1936.
This is the WGNS Action Line. Talking with Rutherford County newsmakers
since 1947.
This is the WGNS Action Line. Now, your host, Scott Walker.
Right now, that time, 8:17, you're tuned to WGNS, again on this Thursday morning, and today is the 9th of April. From the law offices of John Day, we have got with us today Brandon Bass. And Brandon, what's going on today, man?
Just enjoying the spring weather. How about you, Scott?
It's been nice out there. I kind of like that cooler weather, and on the days where it hits like 80, 85, it's not as exciting for me.
I enjoy this time of year absolutely the most of all because you can get all four seasons in a day.
You can.
And it's rarely gets, like you said, it'll be in the 80s for a little bit, cool off. It's just perfect, other than the part that it's changing so much that you can get stuck inside for a little bit and miss it by an hour for the actually nice whatever you wanted for the day.
But it just feels good to go outside and breathe. Yeah, just that fresh air where it's kind of crisp, kind of cool. It feels so much better than either super freezing days where it's like 10 degrees or 120 outside. Those two.
I've said for a long time, that's what I like about Tennessee the most. We get 2 to 3 weeks of really hot, 2 to 3 weeks of unbearably cold.
Yeah.
And then all parts in between.
So you obviously are a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
So what types of cases do you work on? Because, I don't think we ever really mentioned that at the beginning of each time you've been on. But what are some of the varieties of cases you see?
Personally, so our office handles a wide swath of cases, right? We help people who've been hurt in car accidents, trip and falls and slip and falls at stores or people's houses. Dog bites are a big one. People let their dogs off the leash, and everybody thinks my dog won't bite until there's a kid that's got a surgery on their face because of it. We see a lot of those. I handle a lot of medical malpractice cases as well, and defective products, cases where somebody's got a simple, what they think is a simple part around their house, and when they're using it the way it's supposed to be used, suddenly it'll explode, catch fire or something. But basically, if somebody's been hurt or lost a loved one, we try to help them figure out. A lot of times they call in saying, I think this is what went wrong.
Yeah.
And we start looking into it saying, I understand you were concerned about this one doctor. We've looked at it real close, talked with doctors, and it turns out they did everything right. The problem is the doctor you saw beforehand should have healed you up before you ever needed this treatment. So we end up taking a whole lot of cases for folks who've been hurt or lost a loved one through anyways.
And in states like Tennessee, are there caps on certain types of lawsuits?
Yeah, there's a multitude of caps in Tennessee in different circumstances. I don't know if you've seen lately the tragedy that happened up in Montgomery County with a school bus that was hit. Those poor families who are dealing with the ultimate loss in some with some of the families, they face strict caps of only $300,000 per child.
Man.
With the state of Tennessee and all the counties and cities in the state of Tennessee, the maximum they can be required to pay out for one person who's hurt is $300,000. And the maximum they can be required to pay out for one accident is $1 million. So if there's a school bus full, then it's going to have to be divided less than $300,000 per person. The limit.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. It's been that way since one of them since the 1970s, one of them since the 1980s, and they haven't changed it since. Of course, $300,000 in 1980 was a whole lot different than $300,000 sitting here today.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So it's a big, big problem. And when I say $300,000 is a limit, that doesn't matter if your medical bills are more than $400,000. It doesn't matter if that's even enough to cover getting you out of the hospital. It is truly unfortunate. Hopefully our legislature will change that at some point. Then when it's private defendants, when it's a corporation or something, there's no real limit on medical bills. But there is a limit of no more than $750,000 in most cases for serious injuries or loss of a loved one.
A lot of these caps, like you said, they're old. You know, the caps were put together in the 80s, the 90s. I mean, too long ago for them to be realistic.
100%. I mean, how much has your gas, just fuel for your truck, changed even in the last 5 years? Right?
I'm crying right now.
And just the fill-up costs increase so much, and obviously it varies based on what you're trying to buy, whether it's eggs or whether it's my phone bill. For some reason, fortunately, seems to have leveled off from when I was a young man and used to pay 10 cents a minute for just local phone calls. You know, it seems some stuff goes up different prices than others. But when we set a price on a human life and we never change it, it turns out to be a real problem for the people that are picking up the pieces.
You know, in the multitude of cases that you see, like you were saying, they either involve somebody who was injured in some way or they involve a death in the family. But overall, you do see a lot of cases where somebody has been injured. And in those types of cases, you know, there are things that you should and should not do, I guess, all throughout that lawsuit period. And what are some of those things that you tell clients to, you know, hey, you're about to go into a lawsuit, you're filing a lawsuit, you're going to be at trial at some point. You know, these are things that you probably should avoid doing to give the wrong impression to the other side.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things. And let me change your question a little bit. Because you're asking the right question, which is when you're getting ready to go into a lawsuit, but it really is from day one. Most folks who are hurt in a car accident or have to go to the hospital for some reason are not sitting there on day one thinking, I need to start getting my ducks in a row, and I bet I'm going to be in a lawsuit in a year or so, right?
Yeah.
So it really is from day one, because I talk to people and say, I hope this hasn't already happened. We'll deal with it. But from day one, we live in a digital age. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'll bet you most of the audience has some social media app installed on their phone at any given time.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of folks just seem to live there. So they're posting on Facebook or Instagram or things. I see them posted at the accident scene and such. And it's... a post on the internet, it doesn't matter what your privacy settings are. Companies and insurance companies that care enough can get through that, get access, and put it up on a big display in front of a jury.
Yeah.
That's a big problem for folks. So posting about your day-to-day activities is, for me, it's something I just don't want people to know generally, but I do know there's a whole lot of people who say, I'm going to breakfast right now. It just seems to be a digital diary for them.
Yeah.
And when an insurance company gets through, they'll pay somebody to go through every single one of those and recreate whatever they can, and then use it to attack the person. Well, you said you were hurt, but according to your post, you went to Waffle House the next day.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with going out to breakfast the next day, but it's the kind of things that they come along later and try to use against somebody in a court of law. It starts to get real dangerous when people say stuff like, man, I haven't been able to mow my lawn or dance or something at all since I got hurt. And then they'll find some picture from a wedding where the person's up and on the dance floor. Now, the truth is, you see a picture on somebody's Facebook and they're dancing with their daughter at their wedding.
Yeah.
Nobody took pictures and posted online of the dad getting up and being helped to the stage or spending 2 or 3 days afterwards icing themselves up to deal with it. There's a difference between I can't do it and I'm going to avoid doing it because it hurts like the bejesus out now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So those social media posts I see hurting people real bad. A new forefront there is AI.
Mm-hmm. That's a little scary. I mean, the minute you said it, I'm thinking, man, the pictures people could create of somebody doing something when it's not really them.
I have not seen that come up yet. What I've seen, because it's a risk, obviously. Yeah. Somebody could try and lie, cheat, and steal that way by fraudulently making something. What I've seen for AI is a few things. Number one is some people ask Claude or ChatGPT or what have you, anything that crosses their mind.
Yeah.
Right? And then if they get in a car accident lawsuit or a medical malpractice lawsuit, the insurance company may get the judge to say, we want to see what their files look like. We want to see everything that they've told the machine about us. Right?
Yeah.
So all those logs, nothing on social media, nothing on AI, nothing in a computer ever. It's truly gone, at least not for a long time. There's a server farm that has it somewhere.
Yeah.
And so people post something in there and get ChatGPT's answer. Even if the question and answer are perfectly correct, excuse me, and they've done a search for, well, how much can I get in a lawsuit?
Yeah.
That smells real bad when the person's sitting in the waiting room at the doctor's office and they're searching how. Now.
Yeah, because you're able to see, I mean, through computer logs, you could see where this person asked this question to ChatGPT, what time of day it was, and it would look a little bad if it happened, an hour after the accident or whatever it was happened.
Or sit in the waiting room. Now, I will tell you, I played plenty of game of poker and stuff sitting in a doctor's waiting room with just bored to tears. I understand, and I've asked some stupid questions online and stuff just because I was bored. I'm sure I've looked up every person in the background of a TV show I've watched, be like, don't I recognize that guy from somewhere?
Yeah.
And find out they were on 90210 at some point. I get that people are just typing away, but you do have to worry that you're making a digital record, and it can smell bad. It can smell like you're trying to game the system. The big thing I see is people relying on AI, and there's law firms that have relied on AI and gotten judicial smackdowns for it. I'm not aware of any AI system you can get right now that you can just install on your phone without having a lawyer license that will give you anything resembling accurate legal advice. And it will spit out case citations and stuff that are entirely made up. They'll look legit, and then if you search for it, that case never, ever, ever happened. The AI system, you know how they work. They're just cobbling together words and saying, well, people tend to talk like this. This tends to get a positive response, so let's give this. It's not about accuracy. It's about sounding right.
Right.
So it'll say, in the classic case of Smith v. Jones, they decided that a car accident victim should never, ever, ever be asked about whether or not they had any prior back injuries involved.
Yeah.
Smith v. Jones doesn't exist whatsoever, and law firms have copied and pasted that stuff right into court papers, and the judges called them down and said, well, you just made stuff up. Don't rely on AI for any information that's going to make a difference to your life like that. It's just a bad, bad, bad idea that way. And the last way where I see AI becoming a factor for folks these days is not necessarily the direct legal advice. So if you go on, and I've done this in a while, but at one point, if you punched into ChatGPT or the like, and you search for what's the deadline to file a lawsuit in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you as a lawyer, depending on the type of case, it can be anywhere from like 6 months to like 10 years ballpark, maybe even just depending on a lot about the circumstance, and it's usually about a year. If it comes back and says 10 years, and the right answer is usually about a year, you miss a deadline because you relied on a machine that didn't know what it was talking about and is just programmed to give you an answer that sounds good at the time.
Yeah.
Right? So that's AI, I think, is an interesting tool. But I wouldn't want to rely on it for anything that was important that way for my life or my family.
It's scary to imagine that, somebody out there who got injured would go to a law office and they pay for this legal help and then come to find out this law office is using AI programs in order to put together things they're filing. I mean, that would be, I'd be a little upset.
I think it's the courts correctly. I said the judicial smackdown. They are correctly intolerant of that. Right?
Yeah.
It is not okay. I mean, it's the lawyer's job. We can't know every single case that's ever existed. There's a ton of books out behind my desk at this point. Most are in the computer. You can't know, but you're supposed to know how to get to the right information. Turning over the keys that way, it's like setting the car in cruise control and then getting in the back seat,
Yeah.
And that's dangerous enough for yourself if you're on the road, but boy, if you're the cab driver and people are paying you to do it, that's a terrible, terrible thing to do. So it's a problem. We see it for non-lawyers who are trying to help themselves. They'll send stuff into insurance companies and folks and send in the wrong information.
Yeah.
So it's bad enough for them, but I do think courts, most of us are not as critical of someone who's trying to guess at what the law would be anyway and isn't really trained in how to find it. But nobody really gives an excuse to lawyers who do that.
So one more question about social media. You know how these memories pop up every week or whatever I don't know what their sequence is, but you'll get a memory that pops up of, you at the beach, 10 years ago, whenever it was. When those memories pop up and then the person, maybe they save on their hard drive that picture. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And then they go and repost it. This was a great day. And they don't put the date after they say that statement. This was a great day. What usually occurs when the defendant, when they see that and they do a screenshot and they bring that to court with them and say, hey, you were at the beach last week. How does that usually turn out? Because I could see where the other side, in whatever case you're in, would jump to that without fully thinking, hey, I wonder if this was an old memory.
So I don't see that happening very often, but here's the way that's generally going to shake out. Because I don't see it, because what the problem be, the insurance company's lawyers should know better than ask that question unless they know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Right? So I usually don't see it for that reason, because they would have vetted it. If the lawyer was daring or dumb, I'm going to say daring or dumb enough to go out on a limb and say, boy, I bet that picture from the beach, despite the fact that they still had hair at this point, or et cetera, despite, they look different, is from this time when they're supposedly laid up in the hospital bed, then generally I see one of two things happening. Hopefully the victim remembers and says, that was the last time I went on vacation with my brother. I do remember that. It was a good time, and I wish I could still do it if your stupid client hadn't hit me.
Yeah.
Right? Or they forget and say, well, I don't really know where that came from, and it actually does get them in trouble, etc. Yeah. But one of the reasons the insurance lawyer would be hard-pressed to ask that question is exactly that, getting the person come back and saying, I wish I used to do that every single year. I haven't been able to since you hit me with that car.
Yeah.
Would be a good response answer. But, yeah, it's all the social media stuff. We see it time and time again. And the bigger one from social media is when people click the delete button.
Really? Interesting.
The problem is, nothing goes away on the internet.
Yep.
And the cover-up's always worse than the crime. So when people sit back and go, I'm just going to get rid of all the things that they might use against me, and then their Facebook data is recovered or what have you, and you can see the flags on everything that's been deleted as everything that collectively looks bad. Yes, they're sort of manipulating the evidence against them. That's the kind of thing that gets people in real big trouble.
At the same time, I'm sitting here thinking, if you're an attorney for the plaintiff, it's got to kind of feel good when you're, I don't know, a year long, 2 years long into a case, and then the defendant's side comes back with, hey, we got this photo of your client at the beach doing X, Y, Z. And then in the back of your mind, this is from like 20 years ago. That's not. It's got to feel good when those things happen, because that kind of sends you a message that, man, they're grasping. They know they did wrong, and they're just at the bottom of the barrel trying to figure out some way to recover from it.
Well, that, and if they do it in a way where the judge and jury sees, they've shown themselves to be fools, grasping at straws and willing to say anything in front of it. So, yeah, I had a case not long ago, without going into detail, is a court case, so it's not too private, but without going into detail, where an insurance company blamed a guy. Not the plaintiff, but they said, we actually think it was this other guy that was driving this vehicle at the time. It wasn't actually even our employee. And that guy got brought into the court case.
Yeah.
Talking about social media, he got saved by social media because he had a picture of himself on an international flight at the time. He was overseas at the time that they said he was doing it, and the insurance company kept, well, we really think you was. He's like, this is my family. They're all witnesses. This is an international flight. I was gone for a month. There is literally no possible way I could have been in this car accident.
Yeah.
And like you said, that feels real good when somebody's desperation grasp for straws gets smacked down. But as a lawyer, I'm used to it. That just means they're going to start grabbing for a different straw afterwards. But
you do have those shady companies out there. You do have those shady people out there who they're representing, who knows who, what client, and the client's usually pretty shady too if they hire a shady lawyer to represent them. But in those situations, I mean, gosh, I would hate to be the insurance company that has that policy on that person or on that business, rather. You know, that would not be a good client.
Yeah. I've said for a long time, look, good people make mistakes.
Yeah.
And good people own up to them. Bad people are the ones who try to cover it up. Right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of folks who I deal with who have done something that at the time they made a mistake. They should have known better. They were messing with their phone while driving or just something that we all know could hurt somebody, and we shouldn't do. We should take responsibility. Right?
Yeah.
And the good ones do come in and say, I was messing on my phone. I'm really sorry about what happened. I hope that person gets better soon. And the bad ones come in and say stuff like, well, I don't think I was even operating that vehicle at the time. It's the cover up to me is, I'm glad when the jury see through it too. I'm glad when it's really brought to light. But I hate for the victim who has to sit and worry about that. The court, we don't go to court the day after a crash.
Right.
And I get a lot of clients who sit around and go, well, this is really stressing me out now. I've got all these medical bills. I haven't been able to work. And now they're making up all this stuff. What happens if it goes badly? So those sorts of cover-ups and things, it's good when the juries and the judges are shown the light and able to see through it, and then give no benefit of the doubt for anything after that.
You know, I listened to a podcast recently, and I don't know, I forgot what the subject matter was, but it was talking about how some people, you know, we all go through stress differently in life, but they were talking about different professions out there and how some professions, they're just, you know, automatically more stressful than others. But one of the professions was talking about attorneys who, you know, typically do trial type cases. But it was talking about how a lot of them, their lives get so wrapped into some of the cases they're doing that go on for years in some situations that they become depressed and you know, their marriages go off the rails. I mean, there's just, when you're an attorney and you're representing these people, you really are investing in them, and you're taking in and studying and trying to understand every detail about the case, then about the defendant as well. I mean, you get wrapped up into these cases.
Yeah, I think, I haven't seen the latest numbers, but as part of being a lawyer, you watch and attend seminars every year for like 12 hours, and 3 of them have to be devoted towards ethics as well as mental health.
I can see that.
And so I see it every single year. By the way, one of the most stressful things for your mental health is to every single year sit through a 2-hour seminar about why you're probably depressed and anxious, you know, and why it has, it gets rough, but go through it over and over again, especially when you're cramming it in on a Saturday to try and meet with all the other deadlines. But I do think it is, it's part and parcel of trying to help people through the worst thing that will ever happen in their lives. Trying to make sure you remain empathetic. I never want to be jaded. Haven't become jaded. I never want to be a jaded person who looks at the people as statistics. This is a huge event in their lives that has upended them. And then you talk about the effect on families and stuff. The fact is, I do think from my friends and such, with most careers, the further along you get on your career, the more control you have over your schedule.
Yeah.
And also the better you're able to handle time management. But most careers, you're not working with your adversaries. So my time management is honestly dictated more by people who are trying to destroy my clients than by myself. So there's a whole lot of times when I've got a vacation actually scheduled for once, and then the day before the vacation somebody drops court papers that require a response.
Man.
So
that would be rough.
Yeah, so sitting at a hotel and trying to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to work on it.
Yeah, no fun.
It can be taxing. But honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. Being able to help people through, to come out the other end of the tunnel through something that they couldn't face fully on their own, and to do it in a way that's creative to think it all through I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Again, we're talking with attorney Brandon Bass with the law offices of John Day, and I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking about, just the pressure of what you do day in and day out. On the other side there, the client you're representing, and I guess from when that accident happened that led them to your office to the day the trial is over with, the day there's a settlement, until the end of the case, a lot of these people, they're living their life, and their family in their immediate area is living their life in this limbo state where they've gone through their entire savings because they've been out of work. They've had to pay for surgeries. They've had to, pay whatever the, deductible versus what their insurance pays. I mean, they literally go through their life savings sometimes in order just to halfway recover, because some people have these lifelong differences in their life that because of this accident that they have to live with. And I'm sure you have some clients who are selling their homes even just to continue living.
Yeah, it can be very, very challenging, and I will tell you, we try to help folks through some of those aspects as well, more out of just compassion than out of actual legal work. And I've seen some landlords, for example, do things like when they know that their tenant's been hurt real bad and can't afford the rent. I've seen landlords agree to take a letter from me saying, hey, we'll pay you out of any settlement or trial money. Mr. Smith agrees. You get paid first. Just let him keep living there and don't charge him interest on it. I've seen people do really good things like that to help out the victim. But man, nobody plans for their worst day to happen.
Yeah.
Nobody's on their way to work thinking this is going to be the day I don't make it to work.
I love Dave Ramsey and hearing his, thoughts on saving money and all this stuff. But, how he talks about having, 3 months of salary set aside in savings. The reality of it is, if you do get hurt and, if you're out of work for the next 3 years, that 3 months of savings doesn't do anything, and that's the scary part of getting injured.
Yeah, I think, as lawyers, one thing we can do is always be mindful that our clients, their court cases is not their entire life, including what you're talking about. Kids' school lunches still got to be paid for. If their kids are going on a field trip and there's a donation required to the school for it or payment, people are still scrounging up money in the couch cushions. Mm-hmm. Right. So as lawyers, we can always be mindful of that, and I really do try. I'd like to think I do. I'm confident I do a very good job at this. That means clients need two things: they need an excellent result, and they need it soon. An excellent result that comes in 10 years too late isn't all that excellent.
No.
And a mediocre result that comes in early is still mediocre at best. They need excellent work done efficiently so that they can get on with their lives. And so I'm happy to say I usually see very, very big smiles when my clients have their last meeting.
And that's a big positive right there. And we got to take a short break, and we do have a couple of questions, and we'll get to these questions when we come back. And I'll just mention one of the first questions is about somebody who had a knee replacement surgery. So we'll get to that one and more when we come back. And if you have questions, you can text those to us at 615-893-1450. Again, with us today, Brandon Bass, and he is with the law firm of John Day. We'll be right back.
35 years. That's how long your family has trusted my family to care for your pets. Hi, this is Amanda from Animal City. Get your pets. New Year off to a great start with some fresh accessories and some new toys. Even though it's wintertime, our baby bird nursery has a lot of wonderful occupants. If a new feathered friend is in your future, come in and see us at Animal City. Stop by and get the best quality pet gear in town. Come see us at Animal City, 919 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro.
This is Peter Demas, and our family is inviting your family to come eat with us at Demas's restaurant. We're trying to give them a place where they can eat with their family that's not fast food. We want to create an atmosphere where we can sit down and just have a good old-fashioned family dinner, but unfortunately now most people can't do it at homes. You know, two people are working, the kids' activities, and so what we're doing is we provide that and we make it affordable. Come eat with us at Demas's restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
CBS News Brief. The Iran ceasefire is teetering amid disagreements over Israel's continued strikes on Lebanon. Iran's deputy foreign minister.
It was a grave violation, intentional grave violation of the ceasefire. You cannot have a cake and eat it at the same time. That was the message that Iran sent crystal clearly to Washington and to the Oval Office last night.
In response, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz again. That's triggered a new rise in oil prices. Gas prices here stuck at about $4.17 a gallon. CBS's Kelly O'Grady says it'll be a while before they come down.
A major backlog of ships would need to move through the Strait of Hormuz. We actually talked to shipping companies, and they aren't making any moves right now because they're still unsure their tankers will be safe.
Police in the Bahamas have arrested a Michigan man after he says his wife fell overboard during a boat ride in the Bahamas Saturday. The woman's daughter questions his story.
Like, why didn't he stop and put the anchor out and look for her?
CBS News Brief. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
Do you want your money to work hard for you? Who doesn't? South Central Bank has 2 CD specials that will help your money grow. South Central Bank has a 5-month CD with an annual percentage yield of 4.15% or a 25-month CD with an annual percentage yield of 3.8%. 2 great ways to put your money to work. You choose the term that works best for you. $500 minimum balance to obtain the APY. Stop at our location at 1602 West Northfield Boulevard in Georgetown Park today and take advantage of our 2 great rates. South Central Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Smith, candidate for School Board Zone 4. Behind every great student is a dedicated teacher. To keep the best educators in our county, we must support them with a culture of respect and a safe and disciplined environment. When we empower our teachers, our children thrive. I'm Clarissa Smith, humbly asking you for your vote for School Board Zone 4.
Paid for by Friends of Clarissa Smith, School Board Zone 4. Clarissa Smith, Treasurer.
The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Right now that time, 8:52. You're tuned to WGNS. And again, Brandon Bass in studio with us today with the law offices of John Day. And this first question here, it says, good morning. I had a total knee replacement about 4 years ago. And I told him, I guess referring to the doctor after the surgery, that something didn't seem right about it. So after that first year checkup, the doctor said that the knee was unstable and needed to be worked on. And he's asking who should be responsible for that medical bill regarding his knee.
I'm sorry that person sounds like is dealing with a lot there. The good news is joint replacements usually go swimmingly from all the clients I've had who've had them. But when they don't, it can go from needing a surgery to feeling like, boy, I wish I'd never had this surgery. Typically what I see when there are concerns about whether a joint replacement is working the way it's intended, the answers are one of 3 things. in terms of who should pay. It can just be everybody did everything right, and there's something that's just wrong. There's something that's just not working ideal. I do think that's pretty rare to occur within a year. It can, but it's pretty rare. The second thing is some joint replacements that they're metal and other parts that are manufactured up to precision specifications, and then the surgeon uses them and implants them in, does some work on the bone and et cetera in order to get in there, right? But there have been problems at times with the product as the way it was designed or the way it's manufactured. At one point, there were a bunch of joint replacements where they decided, the designers and manufacturers of a few of them decided the sturdiest thing they could think of was metal. So let's just use metal throughout the whole thing, and we'll have, a metal leg touching a metal hip.
Oh, that sounds painful.
And the problem is, if you think about your car brakes, if you put metal on metal, after a while you're going to run up a whole bunch of medical particles scraping off, and you're going to lose metal from the parts, and it's going to end up in the people's bloodstream.
Yeah.
So those things were failing left and right for a while. I don't know if anybody even makes them like that. So the second possibility is a defect in the way that the product was either designed or the way it was manufactured. The third possibility is malpractice on behalf of the doctor, typically, and it could be anyone that's involved in the surgery, but when it comes to the actual hip replacement or joint replacement and needing to have that part changed out, that would sound more in the hands of the surgeon than, say, a scrub nurse or somebody else who's standing by just for what parts each person's touching, typically. The sort of potentially worse news is the timeline the listener said started 4 years ago. I think they said for when they had that surgery. As we talked about at the beginning, Scott, Tennessee's, I think we talked about it here, Tennessee's got the shortest deadlines to file a lawsuit in the country. Typically it's 1 year from the date somebody's hurt or finds out that they've got a problem. There are exceptions to the exceptions to the exceptions with it gets complicated. It gets really, really complicated. There are extra special additional deadlines for suing a manufacturer of a product, and different extra special additional deadlines for suing a doctor. So overall, then, you have generally 3 people who could be generally responsible. One just could be nature. One could be something wrong with the joint replacement parts, and one could be some negligence by the surgeon. There's no way to tell at the outset who it would be, but there would be concerns about whether, if they were the person to cause it, whether they could be required to pay it by filing suit within the appropriate deadlines. Can't answer that without a whole lot more information, but I do unfortunately see a lot of folks who call in and say, I've been trying to deal with this. What do I do now? And the answer is, unfortunately, with our state having the shortest deadlines in the country, there's a lot of people who get lost in the shuffle because of that. So.
Another question here. It says that I filed a lawsuit about 3 years ago, and it seems like the defendant is stalling in my case, and my attorney keeps saying something about the trial and them not wanting the case to go to trial because the jury would see too many of the negative sides of what the company did, and they keep talking about exposure. When they say exposure, are they talking about this case and the information going to the media, or are they talking about their inner workings of the company and the jury seeing through them?
I don't know under the circumstances what the lawyer's referring to there. I will say, the vast majority of the time, if a person has a good case, by good I mean meritorious and not one that just everybody thinks is going to be thrown out of court quickly, then the defendant company, the insurance company folks, don't want the case to go to trial. It's not really a matter of even whether they're worried about paying out or worried about being in the news. It's just, if I've got $100 in my bank account, and when something happens, I have to put it into your bank account, I'd rather it stay in my savings account collecting interest in the meantime. And the same thing is true for insurance companies. They'd rather have the investment money as long as possible. And the insurance company would really like it in their bank accounts as long as possible, in hopes that the victim will have those problems you were talking about earlier, Scott, that the victim will get desperate, the victim will run out of their own money and start saying, okay, well, maybe you owe me $100, but I'll take $25 if we can just get this over with right here and now. I'm desperate now.
I can see that.
So in terms of what the particular lawyer's talking about in the particular case, whether it's exposure to the jury or whether it's exposure to the media, I can't, we don't see a whole lot of newspaper articles or radio discussion stuff about what happened in a car accident lawsuit. Those things just aren't. They're not exposed that way. They're happening every single day, unfortunately. I don't know if it's a car accident or if it's something truly scandalous, like could be sexual abuse involved or things like that, and that is something that becomes newsworthy. I just can't guess what the circumstances are.
Yeah, there's so many different things that happen, I guess, within a court case. It's hard to really speculate on anything. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into these cases.
One size does not fit all. And if you're trying to follow a script or a template, I tell young lawyers I'm teaching, when they come into my office or ask me for questions, generally they want to come in and get a nice little script of exactly what to do. And I say, look, it's more like a football playbook.
Yeah.
This is not a script for a movie. You come in and say, well, maybe we'll plan the first 3 plays, but after that, we got to be able to call a pass, call an audible, or anything else. We better have a whole lot of options in the playbook to address the fact that there's a bunch of people on the other side who are getting paid to beat us.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to it. Again, Brandon Bass with us today with the law offices of John Day, and we are already out of time, but thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you.
Right now the time, 9 o'clock. Stay with us. News comes your way right now.
Middle Tennessee Christian School in Murfreesboro has announced the resignation of girls basketball head coach Shayla Farrell following a standout season with the Lady Cougars. Farrell led the program to a district championship and a region runner-up finish. Despite the success, she says the decision to step away comes as she prioritizes family needs, calling it a difficult choice after building strong relationships with the players and families across Rutherford County. Athletic Director Jason Piercy praised her impact and support for student athletes, while school leaders